It's been a while since we talked about new discoveries that make you question everything you thought you knew about human history. So today we are going to look at a newly discovered footprint that is shifting our understanding of how humans evolved and lived up until around 10,000 years ago. As with all of our videos, there are some inaccuracies out there in the world of academia, and we really want to bring you what we believe to be the most truthful information available, based on current evidence. This video is going to cover the discovery itself, the speculation of who the second hominid species could be, and finally, why this footprint has stayed hidden for so long. So first, let's start off by talking about the discovery itself. In January of 2023, an archaeological team in New Mexico uncovered a series of footprints from between 23,000 and 26,000 years ago. These footprints were created by 3 different people walking alongside each other near the shores of a lake that once stood where the White Sands National Park now stands. Now, this may not seem like that big of a deal to you or me, but it's pretty huge when you consider that prior to 2008 we didn't even know humans had been in North America any further back than 14,000 years ago. Since then, we've pushed that date further and further back thanks to footprints just like these. It was because of footprints left behind by early humans that we've been able to prove that humans walked the Earth as far back as 2.6 million years ago here in Africa. When studying these prints, archaeologists can get an idea of the person's height, their weight, age, gender, and if they had any sort of medical conditions based on the shape of their footprints. All that information can help paint a picture of what life was like for early humans at that point in time. It also helps fill in gaps in the story that scientists have been piecing together for decades. Researchers believe that these 3 people were walking near the lake's shoreline when the wet volcanic ash, similar to concrete, hardened overnight, preserving their footprints in stone. Researchers believe the individuals were male, female, and a child based on the size of the tracks. They also believe that because of the positioning of the footprints, they were likely traveling together as a family. One of the men took a stride length of 90 centimeters, which equates to roughly 35 inches, while the other man was a bit shorter with a 75 centimeter stride. When researchers compared the stride length of the child, it was longer than most children their age would have been, suggesting that they were older than most and possibly catching up to their adult height faster than most. The team believes this family was strolling along the beach as the sun was setting, probably returning home after collecting food throughout the day. Sadly, we don't know what happened to them or if they made it home. But knowing that humans have survived for hundreds of thousands of years, I'd bet they did. The thing that makes this site unique, however, isn't the footprints themselves, but rather the fact that the team found another set of footprints nearby that they believe may have belonged to a second human species. Now, hold on a second, because we know what you're thinking. There's only been one human species the entire time, so what could this other set of prints belong to? Well, the answer may surprise you. Scientists have speculated that this second set of footprints may have been left behind by a species of archaic humans known as the Homo luzonensis. Up until now, scientists believed that this species died out in Africa more than 100,000 years ago, but this footprint suggests they could have survived in North America far longer than we previously thought. If these footprints are indeed from a second human species, then it means humans weren't alone on the planet 23,000 years ago, and that there were others walking among us. But wait, you might say there's no way we were ever a multi-species planet. That sounds like science fiction, and you wouldn't be wrong. But in the past few million years, scientists have discovered numerous species of archaic humans who lived during the Pleistocene epoch. Some of these species include Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalensis, and of course, Homo sapiens, modern humans. But Homo luzonensis is a more recent discovery, having been found in the sediments of the Illirit Formation in Kenya's Rift Valley. These remains were originally identified in 2014 and initially were thought to have belonged to a single individual. Further excavations uncovered more fossils, including a partial jawbone with teeth, a thigh bone, and more. While researchers had suspected that these remains belonged to a different species, genetic testing proved it. Some experts believe that Homo luzonensis could have been a descendant of Homo erectus, while others think that they may have split from the same common ancestor that led to modern humans. Because of their relatively recent discovery, there's still a lot that we don't know about Homo luzonensis, making it hard to draw comparisons between them and other archaic human species. For example, we don't know whether or not they had large brains, or if they used tools. What we do know is that they were short, with long arms and legs, probably adapted to living in a forest environment. They would have had brown skin, black hair, and a protruding rib cage, like modern humans. The main physical difference between Homo luzonensis and modern humans is that their feet were much flatter than ours. This would have given them a larger surface area, helping them distribute their weight evenly across the ground. It may have also helped them grip uneven terrain and enabled them to climb trees with ease. We know that Homo luzonensis lived in Africa, but because their bones and artifacts haven't been found outside of Kenya, we assumed they hadn't migrated anywhere else. However, if these footprints are indeed theirs, it would mean that they were capable of traveling much farther than we previously gave them credit for. This also means that they could have coexisted with humans for longer than we thought, and that they were more technologically advanced than previously believed. This is because they would have needed tools to create weapons in order to hunt animals for food. Without those tools, they wouldn't have been able to survive. Not only that, but they would have needed to be organized in order to hunt large game, and would have required a level of intelligence to strategize and communicate effectively. If that's true, it brings into question just how different they actually were from us. After all, both Homo sapiens and Homo luzonensis would have lived in similar environments and hunted the same types of prey. Over time, Homo sapiens began to outcompete Homo luzonensis for resources, driving them to extinction. But not before leaving behind a legacy of footprints in the New Mexico desert. The sad truth is that these footprints may have been right under our noses for thousands of years, and we didn't even realize it. Hundreds of thousands of people visit White Sands National Park each year, but none of them would have ever known that underneath their feet lay the fossilized remnants of ancient human history. This is because the footprints were found at a depth of 8 meters, or 26 feet below the surface. Had the research team not taken a soil sample and done some basic tests, it's likely that these prints would have been lost forever. Researchers used a process known as optically stimulated luminescence dating to determine the age of the footprints. This method measures the amount of light emitted from a sample of sediment when exposed to ultraviolet radiation. The intensity of light is directly related to the length of time the quartz grains have been buried, allowing scientists to accurately date the layers of sediment in which the footprints were found. In this case, the footprints were found in a layer of sediment that dated back to between 23,000 and 26,000 years ago. But it was until researchers analyzed another sample of sediment that they realized how deep the footprints really were. This sample came from above the footprints and dated back to 14,000 years ago. This meant that the footprints had been covered by at least 6 feet of sediment for thousands of years, explaining why they had managed to stay hidden for so long. The team believes that the footprints could have been preserved in this way due to a sudden increase in rainfall, which caused a stream to deposit layers of sediment over the footprints. As the climate changed, the stream dried up, leaving behind a thick layer of sediment that protected the footprints from erosion. Now, unfortunately, the footprints aren't protected forever. Weather erosion and rising water tables could eventually wash them away, so it's possible that in a few thousand years from now, they could disappear completely. That's why it's so important that we continue to study these prints while we have the chance. They're a window into the past, that's giving us unprecedented insight into the lives of early humans. And we owe it to ourselves and future generations to learn as much as we can from them before it's too late. Hey, everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave us a thumbs up. We'd also like to thank all of our supporters for helping us make this content possible. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.